I'm now recording. So I'm going to record this so that we can have it for posterity and people that couldn't make it tonight because the world is a crazy place will be able to see it later. So I would like to just welcome everybody to the first ever GallopNYC Town Hall for stakeholders. My name is James Wilson. I'm the executive director, and I have with me two key staff members, Director of Programs, Bonnie Perry, and Director of Community and Corporate Engagement, Sherzelle Scott. Neither Cher and Bonnie are not going to be on video until the question and answer session, but I want them to be able to address your questions if they can. So we're presenting this as a webinar. You can all see me, but I can't see you. If you'd like to interact with your peers or with one of us, please use the chat function. Now, we want to spend some time at the end of the session answering your questions. And so if you will please use the Q&A button that's at the very top of your screen to ask your question. Okay, now, why are we here? And why is today's session different from the one we had a month ago? We see each of you as one of GallopNYC's key stakeholders, a key supporter, a program partner, or a leader. We're excited to share with you what's happening at GallopNYC, how we're faring during this time, and our progress on key initiatives. Furthermore, I want to share with you my vision and our vision for the future of GallopNYC and how it's been impacted by the pandemic. We'll talk a little bit about what our programs look like right now. We'll touch on fundraising and budgets, and then we'll talk about our vision for GallopNYC. We'll save a little time at the end to answer your questions. Remember, Q&A button poses your questions. Bonnie, Cher, and I will do our best to answer each one of you. So let's start with what's happening. I'm proud to say that we're open, albeit in a limited way. We are at this moment offering riding lessons, both therapeutic and recreational, to everyone except those that need significant physical support. Sorry, lost my train of thought here. Except those that need significant physical support. We have independent riders have been riding since June 13th. And then just after Labor Day, we started offering riding lessons to those that need some level of physical support. Rather than support those riders with a volunteer, we're asking parents or other members of the pod to physically support them. I've been at lessons quite a bit, and I'm really happy to say that it's going really well. It's working. We have lessons happening at 4 different locations around the city: Forest Hills, Lindenwood, Brooklyn, and the Bronx. The bulk of our locations are, of course, happening in Forest Hills and Howard Beach, our own locations. In the Bronx, we have both therapeutic riding for people with disabilities and our veterans program. And in Brooklyn, we're very limited this fall. We're focused only on hippotherapy at this moment, and we're only there 1 day a week. We began offering scholarships again in early October, using our sliding scale to reduce the cost of lessons for those that need it. We're proud to have offered full or partial scholarships to just over 1/3 of our riders at this moment. In terms of people riding with us now, about 80% of our total ridership are therapeutic lessons, with the balance being recreational lessons. One significant bright spot that I'm really proud of is our veterans program. Right now, about 15% of our therapeutic lessons are veterans. I would like to spend a few minutes talking about our equine partners. Our horses are a key part of our equation, and without them, we would all just be walking around in circles. During the spring, when it became really clear that COVID-19 was going to have significant impacts on our economy and the economy at large, and our ability to provide group riding lessons, we decided to begin looking for some new homes for our horses. We ultimately ended up finding new homes for 13 of them. What that really means is we worked with the new owner of the horse to make sure that he or she would have a healthy, happy environment where they can be safe and that their job would be suitable for them. At this moment, GallopNYC owns 15 horses in Forest Hills and 10 in Sunrise. Plus, we're boarding horses for other people. 25 horses is still a very significant number, and at this moment, we have more than enough to offer lessons to our riders. During the fall and winter, if non-essential businesses are closed again, as happened in the spring, we are not planning to move horses out of town. With our smaller herd and precautions in place for our equine care staff, this time I feel confident that we will be able to keep both our equine partners and our staff members safe and healthy. Also, during the winter, turning horses out in field board is more difficult, especially for our pampered New York City horses that aren't used to living outside 24/7. Many of our horses are older, and there is a risk in moving them that might possibly negatively impact their health. That's a risk that I'm not willing to take for this organization at this moment. Speaking of horse welfare risks, I want to talk about how we're mitigating them, especially after an incident this summer. Over the summer, we had a case where a trusted partner with whom we had boarded several of our horses was not taking appropriate care of some of them. This was distressing news, and it was made worse by how we found out. Rather than bring it to our attention right away, somebody sent unflattering photographs to the Equus Foundation, one of our partners and a foundation dedicated to the well-being of horses. We immediately took decisive action on behalf of our horses. We also worked with Equus to demonstrate our commitment to our horses and ensure our reputation remained intact. Frankly, we were concerned about public-facing repercussions from this matter had somebody posted to social media, which obviously would have done significant damage to our reputation and undermined our ability to serve our riders and our community. So we've undertaken steps to ensure that we're meeting the highest standards of care and being really, really transparent with our community about how we care for our equine partners. We've launched an equine advisory committee of experts in equine nutrition, exercise, and healthcare. This panel of people will help inform our equine management and they will evaluate our horses quarterly and as needed to ensure that they're healthy and their levels of fitness are appropriate. It's my goal for GallopNYC to be a field leader in how we safeguard the health and well-being of our horses. I'll speak now for a moment about COVID-19, everybody's favorite topic, how it's affected the organization and the work that we do and what we're doing in light of the recent surge. First, staffing. During the spring shutdown, we were able to keep all of our full-time employees on staff and some of our barn staff on staff. We furloughed many part-time staff members, especially our instructors, and then we lost some via attrition. At this moment, we're proud that we've offered reemployment to all former employees who wanted to come back. The biggest change with staffing that happened over the course of the year is the loss of our Director of Development, Amy. She resigned in March for another opportunity, and I made the decision not to fill her position. I instead hired a consultant to help me grow my own development skills and help me to understand what specific capacities we'll need when we're ready to fill that position. I expect that we'll begin that search in the spring. Second, programming. During the lockdown, our staff did a really, really amazing job developing virtual programs for a lot of our riders. We unexpectedly reached many new people, many young people, especially even outside some of our own riders. Given that the school closure impacted so many people with disabilities, we're grateful that we were able to provide some of this programming that reached them at home, and I'm super grateful for my staff, Bonnie and Cher especially, for making this happen. We've made some really significant changes to operations at our barn in response to the danger of COVID-19 and are watching the current developments very closely. Obviously, with the positivity rate climbing over 3% just yesterday, we're watching state and local guidance. We're hopeful that we can continue to offer outdoor activities at sunrise as long as the weather holds out, and indoor lessons in our 3,500 square foot indoor arena at Forest Hills. In any case, we will continue to offer virtual programs throughout the winter in an effort to really keep our community engaged as we did during the spring. In terms of specific lessons, while we used to work with about 400 riders each week, now we're able to offer about 125 lessons a week. You'll notice there, I didn't say only. It's a big accomplishment to be able to offer that many lessons in this environment, and I give our staff full credit for their hard work. All of our lessons at this moment are private. That is one rider and one instructor. And what we're seeing is a significant change in the ability levels of our riders and what that will lead to. Though we cannot verify it yet, we expect to see significant changes in riders' life skill goals over the course of the year. What we do is really, really simple. We teach horse riding and horsemanship skills to people. And though they're learning things like how to saddle their horse, how to use their reins and their legs to direct the horse, what they're actually learning is much more. They're learning to plan ahead and expect what their horse is going to do. They're learning how to be patient with themselves and their horse. They're learning how to regulate their emotions, and they're learning how to be a leader. They're gaining fine and gross motor skills, balance, coordination, strength, dexterity, and learning where their body is in space. And the whole time, the entire time, they think they're just riding a horse. But it's so much more than that. It's life-changing. And before I move to talking about our vision of the future, the steps that we want to take, I want to talk a little bit about our financial management through this period. Thankfully, due in part to many of the people that are on this webinar, we're in a stable financial position at this moment, no pun intended. While we missed our revenue target by about $150,000 or 7% in fiscal 20, which is the fiscal year that just ended in June 30th, we were actually net positive as we were below our expense budget by about 230 grand or 12%. So we came relatively close to our revenue projections because of our supportive community. We ran a very successful social media campaign, the Feed the Herd campaign, when we moved the horses out of town. This brought us more than 350 new donors, pardon me, and it allowed us to recognize that our horses are a key area of interest for many of our existing donors. We're taking advantage of that fact now by fundraising not only around rider scholarship, but around horse health and well-being. Pardon me. We also had significant support from our foundation and corporate partners, raising significant emergency funding in the spring and summer. And we received a payroll protection program loan, which we have calculated to be 100% forgivable. When we planned fiscal 21, we took an extremely cautious approach. We planned for a significant hit, both in terms of fundraising and earned revenue from programs, and planned our expenses down accordingly. We planned for revenue and expenses to be both down by about 30% lower than our fiscal 20 budget. So far in fiscal 21, revenue has been really strong due to a strong result from our barn dance in September, which met its goals despite pivoting to a virtual event. We're doing really well thanks to continuing support from our foundation partners. And this year we had a dollar-for-dollar matching event from Macquarie that repeated, that we weren't necessarily expecting to repeat. We're currently outpacing our revenue budget by over 100%. We're watching our year-end appeal very closely, as if there is an economic slowdown at this moment, we will see it in our end-of-year appeal. I became interim executive director in April of 2019 and worked the rest of 2019 to really try and rebuild the trust and confidence in our internal community. When I took the interim title off and became executive director in January 2020, I felt like at that moment, we were really beginning to see some real progress in terms of our community, in terms of lesson effectiveness, and in terms of horse usage even to the extent of how some of our programs were going. There's a term in horse riding, half halt, where you ask your horse to momentarily slow and rebalance himself. It's often used when you're transitioning from one gait to another, from a trot to a canter, for example. In my mind, we as an organization have simply executed a half halt. We haven't stopped, but we're rebalancing ourselves for the next step. We're making decisions now that will serve us when we're ready to take that next step, when we're ready to add capacity, when we're ready to go back to our programs as they were before. And we're rebalancing around my vision for the future of GallopNYC, youth leadership development and workforce preparedness. I'm speaking about this as a significant shift and not just another program, because it's a re-envisioning of the base of our organization and our programs. We're not stopping therapeutic riding. Rather, we're building our leadership development and job skills programs to underpin all of our other programs. This work will be the foundation that all of our programs are built upon. We feel this is important because we have the capacity and the ability to utilize our horses and our barns to not only teach real necessary skills, but then those jobs will help support our therapeutic riding programs. It's a virtuous cycle. There are lots of different jobs that are necessary to make GallopNYC run. There are horses that need to be cared for. There's facility that needs maintenance and upkeep. There's a mountain of admin work that has to be done constantly. Our barns will become a place where people with disabilities can work a real job that needs to be done and allow them to build essential skills for their most independent life. I'm really excited now to continue this work that we started in the spring, hiring some young people to work with our horses, training select members of our staff to become job coaches, developing employee evaluation methods that are appropriate for all different kinds of employees, and giving these young people a chance to grow their skills in a safe, thoughtful environment. Teaching young people through our leadership program the skills necessary to work, skills like goal setting, self-management, self-advocacy, agency, empathy, community. What better place than GallopNYC to learn all of those things? As this vision becomes larger and grander, I can see our Forest Hills facility becoming a key part of the picture. Initially, because it's a very simple and safe place for people to start working. Ultimately, I would like to see that facility operated as a separate revenue generating business, like a social enterprise or a B Corp that's specifically tailored to offer employment and workforce training opportunities to people with disabilities. This coming spring, the board of directors and I will be undertaking a process to update our strategic plan. We're going to be looking at the impact that GallopNYC can have in the world, especially as that world hopefully will begin to be less COVID-19 focused. My vision of youth leadership development and workforce preparedness will be a key part of that strategic planning process. We're excited to get started revisiting our strategic plan, and we'll undertake this process with as much rigor as possible, given our financial constraints. Finally, tonight, I want to be able to answer your questions. So remember that you can use the Q&A button that you should see a little image there. And we'll keep track of what's been answered and what we haven't answered. Anything that we can't get to or anything that we need more time on, we need to do some research on, we'll follow up and share with the group afterwards. So I see a couple of questions. The first one that, let's see, I'm going to address. There's one about what we're doing in terms of racial diversity and what we're doing in terms of racial equity. We are, I'm glad to say that we have, yes, veterans, good question. We're developing a plan, thanks to one of our funders, to increase our instructor and training program, to increase the number of instructors who look like our riders, right? So we're looking to add racial diversity. We're looking to add diversity of ability. We're actually looking for men as well. Our ridership looks very different than our instructorship, and we're making efforts at this moment to add instructors who look like our riders. We've had some success already. We've added a couple of people. We've got a couple more people, I think, in the pipeline. And so we're really excited to begin to spend some of this time now training our staff, our new potential staff members to take the new role on. So let's see, we had a question. We want to talk a little bit about the veterans program. Bonnie, do you want to touch on the veterans program a little bit?
Sure, let me turn.
We're gonna try to put us all on screen here. This is a team effort.
All right, I don't know.
So we got that. That's good. Good job. I think that works.
We did it.
Nicely done.
So the veterans program, there's a few different ways that veterans can be involved right now. Our veterans program was one of our most successful virtual programs, which was really awesome to have that experience. It turns out that the virtual space is a very comfortable space for veterans, often because of deployment. So we had great engagement all spring. And so when we were able to bring people back out to the barns, we've had a lot of success with people returning and staying part of the program, which has been a challenge in the past. So right now, veterans are riding one-on-one. The program is free for veterans to participate, that they're working one-on-one with an instructor. We also have employment training for veterans available. We actually hired a veteran this fall, working out at Sunrise, and she's also riding, so I hope eventually she may become an instructor as well. So there's lots of different ways people are working in the barns, getting that experience, meeting online, and also through our riding program. We offer lessons, like James said, in the Bronx and at both of our barns for veterans. So.
One program that was really, really clever for veterans that I think Bonnie came up with last fall was a program for veterans and their kids. So they would show up with their son or their daughter or their grandkid. I think there were some grandkids that showed up, and it worked really, really well. I showed up at Forest Hills one day, and there was like 25 people there, and there were all these kids, and they were running around, and everybody. It worked really, really well. Obviously, we can't do that now, but as soon as we can go back to allowing those groups to come together, we're going to do that again. So that was a great program.
Yeah.
Is there an immediate, so there's a question about an immediate need for GallopNYC that we could use support. There's always support that we need for this organization. We're looking at how we can make Sunrise weather independent. Obviously, we're operating the facility at Sunrise with full-time facility and only our ability to do part-time lessons. So we're looking to add a covered arena at our facility out in Howard Beach. That's a big lift for us. That's going to be eventually a $200,000 or $300,000 project. There's capital work that always has to be done at our Forest Hills location. And we're always trying to grow our programs and make sure that we have enough money to operate our programs effectively. We've had a lot of support. As I said, we've had a lot of support with many of the people on this call, many of the stakeholders on this call. And financially, we're doing okay right now. I think we will really have an understanding of what the economy looks like in the next 30 to 60 days. And then we'll reconvene. But we're always looking at capital projects, and we're always looking to make sure that a lot of our programs are really funded as well as they can be. So other questions, if anybody has a question they want, they can dump in the chat as well. Cher, do you want to talk briefly about our volunteer efforts at this moment in the time of COVID? I'm going to put her on the spot, see if she'll answer.
Yeah. Sure. So currently we are engaging volunteers who have prior horse experience, so that we can ensure the safety. We don't have safety of our community. We don't have our volunteer sidewalking at this time. If there is a rider that needs a sidewalker for support during their lesson, we're asking that someone from their household kind of fill that role. And in this kind of interim period where we don't have groups on site, we are building up our corporate volunteer program so that when we are able to have people on site, we have that up and ready to go. And we also have ways for volunteers with not so much experience to still come on site and lend their support through our visiting program. They can come on site, they can schedule a visit and learn how to lead walk so that they can kind of graduate to that list of approved volunteers to support lessons. So, yeah.
Very good, thank you. We also have volunteers doing remote volunteering. We have volunteers that are helping answer emails and return phone calls, basic kind of phone calls. So I think that's a really great addition that Cher has added this year, to allow some of the volunteers to engage in ways that they couldn't before. So I'm excited to see that. Cool. Anything else that anybody has to talk about or would like to talk about? Not a lot. Okay, we've answered all the questions. So here's what's going to happen. Cher, you want to put up that very last screen for me again? Sorry. So I'm leaving you all. This has gone well. And now I'm going to leave you all with my with our contact information. And I'm going to thank you for being a part of what we've done today. Thank you for being part of the executive director stakeholder town hall. We view each one of you as a full partner in the work that we're doing. And I hope that you'll continue to answer questions. Sorry, no, you will ask questions and share with us your thoughts about how we can help achieve our vision and goals for this program. This is our contact information. Please use it to reach out to us, share with us your questions. And I hope that after tonight, you will have felt a little more connected to our horses, to our riders, to our work, and that you can begin to see some of the bright, shining vision of the future that I have, that we have for this organization. I'd like to leave us with one little tiny piece of information. In horse riding, there's a lot of special words that people use. They describe pieces of equipment or things that horses do, or even places that horses ride. At GallopNYC, we don't typically use those words because they're sort of exclusionary rather than inclusive. But I'd like to teach you one now. The phrase "in hand" comes from driving horses, the days when people would drive horses, and they would drive teams of horses. And the driver, the person who's driving the horses, must hold several sets of reins in his hands. And each one of those reins is connected to a different horse. Somebody who has the situation well in hand is adept at managing all of those different inputs that come from all of those different reins. GallopNYC at this moment is like a team of horses. It's challenging. Every moment is challenging. We're managing different aspects of the organization and working to keep everybody pulling in the same direction. And we, only have this organization in hand because of the support and the guidance from each one of you. I believe strongly that we couldn't do what we do unless we have your support. So I would like to once again thank you for being here. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for spending your time. And I hope that I will see each one of you very soon in a socially distanced experience at one of our barns. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Take care.